Hello, everyone. I'm Karen MacNeil, and this is winespeed.com's People to Know, insider interviews with the most important and fascinating people in the wine business. And today we're speaking with Sylvie Cazes, who is president of Bordeaux's Foundation for the Culture and Civilizations of Wine, the organization that runs La Cité du Vin. For its part, La Cité du Vin is a living monument to the history of the world's wine culture. It opened in Bordeaux in 2016. Sylvie is an active member of the French winemaking family that owns the famous Grand Cru Classé property Château Lynch-Bages on Bordeaux's left bank. She was president of the estate's board of directors for many years, the first female president of the prestigious Union des Grands Crus de Bordeaux, and the former director of Château Pichon Lalande, another Grand Cru Classé property. Cazes has been a tireless ambassador for French wines for many years, and today is the proprietor of Château Chauvin in the Medoc, as well as the famous Michelin-starred restaurant, the Chapon Fin, and a luxury wine tourism agency, Bordeaux Saveurs. In 2010, Sylvie was named Woman of the Year by the UK-based magazine Drinks Business. Sylvie, I think this defines we call this being an overachiever in the US. My goodness.
I'm so honored that you give me this opportunity. So nice. Thank you, Karen.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. And, you know, I want to start with a couple of questions about Château Lynch-Bages, which your grandfather purchased at the end of the 1930s. Did you actually grow up on the property? What was one of your earliest memories?
No, we lived in the village nearby, but not on the property because my grandfather was living there. And I was a grown-up when he died.
And your first glass of wine, did he give it to you?
Yes, they did it too. Gave me the glass of wine, but you know I can't even remember. That was a long time ago.
Well, you studied foreign languages and business in addition to training at Bordeaux's Enology Institute, but you didn't join the family business right away. Why was that?
You know, when you're young, you just want to do something different from your family. So I like to travel, I like to see the world. And then I decided to teach for a number of years. Yeah, for a few years anyway. Yeah. And then I moved back to the wine region, to Pauillac, my hometown. And my brother, in the meantime, had started working with my father and took over the properties. I had my family and then I decided to work with them.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you had a very big contribution, of course, to the business, which included extensive tourism activities, a Relais Chateau hotel, a wine school, a Michelin-starred restaurant. But when you started all of those, these things were not at all common in Bordeaux. What did people in the neighborhood think?
Yes, it was a bit surprising for a lot of people. Actually, you know, we sell through Bordeaux Négociants. That's why wine tourism has not really been developed. The Négociants used to travel around the world for us. And in those days, we were more concerned with trying to keep our cellars, which were not in good conditions and everything. So it was really new for us to think about wine tourism. And then we traveled, of course, to Napa and we saw everything that was there and was so marvelous and how the visitors could come and discover and exchange. And we decided we had to do something. And so we started with Cordillon-Bages and also with, welcoming a number of visitors at Lynch-Bages.
Yeah, you know, I really remember as a journalist coming to Bordeaux and how formal it was and how difficult it was really to visit the estates. You had to sort of personally be invited, and it was a little well, for an American back then, it was a bit terrifying.
Yeah. Well, in those days, a lot of French people didn't speak English. That was the most true.
Yeah.
And also people were not so much used to seeing visitors around, and they were very much into their vineyards and were not used to it. So it was a sort of revolution. It really started at the end of the 80s. At the time we opened Cru de Bordeaux and developed, of course, throughout the 90s. Because the 70s were terrible in Bordeaux, in the Bordeaux area, very difficult situation, economic situation. And then the 80s came with a number of good vintages, and then people were able to redo their cellars and also started welcoming visitors.
Yes. Now, you were the first female president of the Union des Grands Crus de Bordeaux, which is a very high-profile governing body. And I'm sure that did not go unnoticed. You are Bordelaise, but was it, did anyone require any adjusted thinking to have a female president?
It's always the case, more or less. But I must say, you know, it was an opportunity. And at the time, Patrick Marotteau, who was the former president, thought it would be a good idea, you know, for a change also to have a woman. And I think for a number of women in the wine business in Bordeaux, which was a rather conservative area, and the people there, I mean, the professionals were rather conservative, but it was a sort of revolution. But I think that because we had been traveling together for a number of years, I mean, it was very, very easy for me, actually. They were very, very enthusiastic and helped me a lot. I mean, it was a good group. And there are lots of women in the wine business in Bordeaux, actually.
Yes, there certainly are today. And I know I will miss the Union. We will all miss this year because of COVID, the Union de Grand Cru de Bordeaux tasting in San Francisco. But I remember last year, many women vintners were pouring their wines, which is always a great thing to see. Let's talk about La Cité du Vin for a minute. Bordeaux's mayor, Alain Juppé, tapped you to lead the development of this $100 million wine cultural heritage museum, I guess I'll call it, in 2016. Was that to sort of kick off the revitalization of Bordeaux, or in a sense, was it the final realization of the revitalization of Bordeaux?
It was a bit both. Actually, it was for Mayor Alain Juppé, it was a way to unify the city that he had completely renovated to the vineyards, which were already very famous. So before that, the vineyards had their life and the city had its life. And for the first time, thanks to the Cité du Vin, they were united. And for him, it was a real symbol. It was very important. And so it took us 8 years, and it was a real gathering of all energies, either on the institutional side with the city, the state, and the region, and every institutional organization, and also from the wine with the wine professionals, both through the CIVB, the Conseil Interprofessionnel du Vin de Bordeaux, that gathers all the wine growers and all the négociants, but also a lot of private donors who helped us build the Cité du Vin. So it was a really private and public element that made the Cité du Vin.
And you know, why was it always envisioned to tell the global story of wine? Because, right, certainly France, it could have been a huge cultural institution devoted to French wine, but you made it global right from the beginning. Why was that?
Yes, very quickly. At first, it was supposed to be a place about Bordeaux wines, but we wanted to talk about the culture of wine. And of course, we realized that if we wanted to talk about the culture of wine, it couldn't be just Bordeaux wine. Because I mean, Bordeaux wine culture is the result of a number of cultures from different other countries that started making wine before us, like Georgia, Egypt, Greece, and all the Mediterranean countries. And so it was not only history, which was different, but also if you consider what is wine culture today. Today, wine culture is enhanced by the fact that it's universal, that it exists in a great number of countries, 90 countries, I think. And it was so important to prove that wine was a culture that it very quickly was obvious that we had to talk about all the wines in the world.
My God. Now, of course, I referenced the fact that we're doing this interview during the time of COVID. So tourism is, I know, is abated for now. But La Cité has digital exhibitions in 8 different languages. And at some point, when the world goes back to normal, hopefully, you will go back to attracting all these international guests. And you have a lot of international guests. How do you get people from all over the world to come to Bordeaux to learn about the culture of wine?
Well, the Cité du Vin became famous little by little around the world. People heard about it. And just before COVID, I think we had more than 65% visitors coming from abroad. And so it was really, really an achievement for us, because this is exactly what we wanted to do, is to talk about the universal culture of wine, and that all the people could come and understand that it's universal. And it's and also the mission of the Cité du Vin is transmission, and this transmission of the knowledge of the culture of wine is really universal as well. And it was very important that we could attract a number of people from abroad. It came mostly by word to mouth. People, of course, with COVID, it's different, but as soon as it's going to finish, I'm sure that, when people will travel, I think it will start very quickly. We're going to have an exhibition from April. The exhibition, which was supposed to be on last year, is going to be on this year, hopefully, between April and August, and it's called Drink with the Gods, and it's about in antiquity, how people used to imagine that the gods, well, of course, Dionysus and Bacchus were the stars, are going to be the stars of this exhibition. We worked in partnership with the Louvre Museum and also with the Museum of Athens. And so this is going, I think that COVID is a parenthesis, and we had to cope with it for months. But I'm sure that as soon as we can travel again, it's going to be again a lot of
I'm sure too. And one of the things that I must say I so respect is not only do you have international reach, but you've really made a concerted effort to have a kind of multi-generational reach. I mean, I know that grown-ups can taste wines from, I think, 70 different countries, but you also have programming for young audiences, family sensory workshops. That's so fantastic. Tell us about that.
Well, it's important that young people understand that it's part of their culture. It's a part of the culture of their country. Making wine, has been on for generations, and it has created, the civilizations have created that, and that, young people should know about it as much as they would know about any part of their culture, of their patrimony of their country. And also we learn them how to taste, because tasting is something that you have to acquire as soon as possible when you're young. Differentiating, enjoying, knowing the good smells, the bad smells. I mean, this is really a knowledge that you can tell the children, and they love, of course, this part of the place. Everything is interactive, so they have a lot of fun. They learn about history, but they learn also about how to discover their senses.
This is a
grape juice, which is important.
Using grape juice, perfect. This is such an important element of your work, Sylvie. Because you're so right. I mean, a sensory education is something that is way too often overlooked. And for the full development of an adult, we know what it means to all of us as adults. So to start that development in children, just a wonderful idea. Well, Sylvie, thank you for joining us today on winespeed.com's People to Know, and our complete interview with the phenomenal Sylvie Cazes will appear on the People to Know page. You will not want to miss it. Sylvie, thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you.